So this is episode 6. This week we're going to talk about accountability. I am Kyle Brown and I have Kevin Logan with me. So how you doing this week, Kevin?
I'm doing wonderful, man. How about you?
Oh, I can't complain. Can't complain at all. So accountability. That's a big word, and it's an important word when you're talking about running your own business or starting your own business, right?
Yes, it is.
I'll let you kick it off. I know this is a topic we both have a lot to say about, and what are your thoughts on it?
Well, accountability comes with anything that we do, and we're all accountable to someone for something. In business, it comes down to, are you really going to be as accountable to yourself as you are to someone else? And that someone else, generally, I'm speaking of, is an employer. Will show up on time, early, skip lunch, work overtime. Honey, I can't do this. I got to work. Kids, I got to miss this. I have to work. But when it comes to being in business for yourself, and you need to be clear as to why you're going in business for yourself. You need to write that down. You need to define that for yourself. If you have a spouse, I feel as though each individual needs to be in agreement with that, so you can be accountable to yourself, getting out the work, working hard, whether it be on a weekend, a Saturday morning, early in the morning, in the evenings, whatever it may be, so that you will, at the very minimum, do the same things for yourself as you've done or will be doing for someone else. Whether you're wearing your creative hat, your visionary hat, your organizational hat, or your doing it hat, whichever one it is, being accountable to yourself in those particular areas, I feel are the things, or I feel that's what's going to be able to move you forward.
You know, when I think about accountability, obviously, to yourself, being accountable to yourself is obviously a very big one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that, I'm glad you mentioned employers and how they, you ever notice how someone will tell you what they have to do in terms of a job, but they very rarely talk about what they have to do for them.
Exactly.
And I get it. We have bills to pay. Those of us with families have mouths to feed, car notes. You got to be clothed, etc. I truly get that. All right, I live in the same world as everybody else. But something that I've never really been able to understand is there just seems to be this level of dedication when it comes to employers that doesn't translate over to you as an individual.
Right.
And I can only assume that it's very much a capitalist, cultural type of mindset. I've seen it my entire life, and the older I've gotten and the more I've talked to people from other cultures outside of the United States, and I don't want to turn this into I'm anti-U.S. or anything like that. I was born and raised in this country. I love the country. I've served the country.
Yes, yeah.
But I'm saying what I feel or what I believe to be 100% true, without a doubt. When you grow up in a capitalist mindset, you kind of do put the employers before yourself.
Right.
And accountability is something that when you're putting the employer before you, accountability becomes greater responsibility as far as the employer goes than it does to yourself.
Yes.
To the extent where it's almost like you're not even that important. But you can't really. My thing has always been this: look, you have a job, you work for somebody, you're paid to do a job, and you should do it. But you shouldn't forget about yourself at the end of the day. I think it gets to a point where it starts to go beyond what I can do for this employer that's reasonable, that is equivalent to what you're really being paid to do. I see people where it starts to get beyond that and it starts to go to, well, if this company goes away, I'm just pretty much non-existent anymore. And that's just not true.
Right.
You can talk to any of the unemployed people in the world today, or particularly in this country today, they'll tell you, like, when the job goes away, you're still here, without a doubt.
Yes, you are.
And you still have those same bills, and you still have to eat, and you still need to clothe yourself and take care of your families, etc. So, all I'm saying is, give credit to self. Look at self. Value self at the same, if not a higher extent that you would this employer that you're being accountable to. Yeah, you were going to say something?
Yeah, and you use that keyword value, and I believe that's also something that you and whomever is going to support you, you need to pull out and extract the value that you have within yourself. Everybody has a value within them. We're all judged by society as to how valuable it is based on what it's doing at the particular time. How many people know about it? And how many people say that, oh, well, I think it is valuable, or it's invaluable, or it's a waste of time. So when you're looking at that specific thing, the value that you have within you, if you were to leave an organization, the organization is going to continue to go on. You and I have seen that both in our corporate backgrounds. And also, if the organization, as you said, decides to sell, shut down, or what have you, the individuals that help get that company where it is, because without people, there's no company. They're still existing. And they need to, I feel it's individuals need to constantly evaluate themselves to find out what it is that they bring to the table each and every day, and what do they want to bring to the table. If there's a shift in what you now want to bring to the table and it's a value, that's okay too, because you're moving towards something greater. If you've done something for a period of time and now all of a sudden, I want to bring something else, that's fine. So then with doing that and assessing that value in it, as we steer back to accountability, as it being responsible for something, then what other responsibilities are going to come? To whom else am I going to be responsible for? If I'm speaking specifically about myself and my business, who else can I serve? What other values can I or what other pluses can I get that I can carry with me, so when I unfold the tablecloth on the table, it's a full course meal where everybody can feast.
So I was reading this podcast, I was listening to this podcast and reading the blog by Patrick McKenzie. He's a bit younger than I am. He's a really smart guy. I met him a few times and at a couple of conferences. Anyway, the guy's he's a developer, but he writes a lot about some of the same things we're talking about, entrepreneurial struggles, etc. And he has this piece about people is really more catered towards developers and web developers and web designers. But to be honest with you, it's applicable to anybody, right? Uh, in brief, it's about doing things that show what you can do that everyone can see, as opposed to keeping all of that stuff inside of a company. Now, that was the gist of it. I'll take it a little bit further and say, yeah, I've had jobs where you have agreements where you can't share this and you can't share that. I get all of that, right?
Right.
But what is stopping you from taking the skills that you've learned in a way that doesn't violate any agreements and sharing them online? And the fact of the matter is, I'd have to say that it doesn't dawn on a lot of people. It didn't dawn on me for a very long time. Just didn't look at it that way, right?
Right.
I felt like I came up with the school of thinking that your experience in education is what carries you in our society for the most part, right? That's what I think a lot of us get brought up with that mindset. And what he's saying is, hey, that's cool, but find a way to take what put it into a format that where other people can see what you can do. And I think that is completely and totally fair. And we all do it today. It's called a resume.
Yes, we do.
Unfortunately, the only time we break that out, those of us that actually have them, because some of us don't have them because we just don't think we need them. I don't know how anybody is that secure these days, but if you are, more power to you. Scary enough, a lot of us don't even have them. But the resume is, that only comes out at certain times.
Exactly.
Whereas my interpretation of what he was saying was, hey, my spin on it is, get what document it somewhere, display it somehow, whether it's volunteering to help other people who might need your services, whether it's writing a blog, whether it's just if you're not that tech savvy. I haven't met a non-tech savvy person yet who could not figure out how to create a Facebook page. Everybody seems to be able to do that. So put the content there, right? But constantly be showing what you can do to people on a regular basis, so that should the day come when you do need to leave your job, then at least you have built an audience, or you've laid the foundation for what you can do, and other people know about it outside of your circles. Because I just don't feel like we live in a workforce today that is where you can really afford to keep everything encapsulated at just with the one company, because there's just too much. Things are just too shaky. Things are just too volatile right now, and I don't think that's going to change in the workforce, quite frankly, going forward. So just let the world know who you are and what you can do in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely. You said one key word, volunteer. Yeah, volunteering is something that I suggest to individuals, because you're meeting a need that keeps you relevant. And you're also able to stay abreast of what the needs are across the board, not just in your particular proprietary sector or industry that you came from. And things are shared a lot more freely. So I think that gives an opportunity for individuals to grow, definitely to give back. And it also creates or places you in a place where you can take advantage of some opportunities that you may otherwise not know about.
Yeah, that's true. Plus, you never know who you're going to meet volunteering. Giving back is in itself, you got some karma credit, right?
Right.
Just giving back to the universe. Not to sound too corny here, but when you put good energy out, you get good energy back.
Yes, you do.
At least that's been my experience.
That is 100%.
So, what we were saying here is you can volunteer your time. Um, that's one way of showing the world, the people around you, what your talents are. You could document it through any number of online blog channels or social media channels. Uh,
Yeah, and that's where, and also individuals that work with you, they go to the social media, they look at the different things that are out there. So, what you put out there, now we've had this discussion. Once it's gone, it's gone. It's there. It's living forever. And so, with your growth and maturity that come along, and even during your transitions, because you've had little seeds already planted, and like you said, with respect to the confidentialities and things of that nature, once you get on your own, it's not that you're going to put down the organization you came from, but then you can kind of spread your wings a little bit more and you can take flight yourself.
I agree. So, let's talk about another a different type of accountability. This kind of accountability is, using those peer groups, whether it's just one person or 20,
Mm.
to hold you personally accountable for doing the things that you say you're going to do.
Right.
So, for example, you may say that you decided you want to go down this path of starting your own business, and the first thing that you want to do is go talk to three people uh, to ask them who you feel are your prospective clients. So if you're a dressmaker, you decide you want to go talk to three people who happen to buy a lot of dresses.
Right.
Show them what you have and ask them if they what they think about it. And let's say that you say you're going to do that, and a couple of weeks goes by and you haven't done it. And the next time you run into your friend or whoever it is you were talking to, they ask you about it, and you say, "Well, I haven't had a chance to do it yet."
Mm-hmm.
So this is the kind of accountability I want to talk about now. Like, we talked before in another podcast about groups, getting into groups, surrounding yourself with groups of like-minded people, so that you can, feed off of that energy, and they can, together, you can all feed off of one another for the purpose of moving all of your interests forward. So
That's right.
this is like taking that same group and saying, "Hey, I want you to hold me accountable, so that 2 weeks from now, the next time we meet, that I will have actually gotten through 3 interviews with three prospective customers."
Right.
And you don't have to wait until 2 weeks from now to ask me about it. You can send me an email or an instant message or, a chat through Facebook. Or if we see each other personally in between now and 2 weeks, I expect you to ask me about that. And that brings a whole level of it just brings a whole level of psychological uh, difference in how you approach something that you said you were going to do. And it doesn't mean you're lazy, but there's something about knowing that someone's going to want to see your results that makes us take it up a notch.
Yeah. It is a term that I've been playing around with, and that my expectation is not your reality. And I say that to mean I've got to let you know what I'm expecting from you, of you, based on what I need. And then you've got to say, okay, you know what? Is it a reality that I can do this or I can't do this? We're all our brothers and sisters keeper. I'm my brother's keeper, and sisters are their sisters keeper. And that goes beyond the immediate bloodline family into your business family, sporting event family, because we've all got multiple groups that we associate within our persons, within ourselves, And a lot of times those groups don't cross the lines of one another. Some people from the same group know each other, but normally not everybody. And that's fine. And so when you talked about, I expect you to hold me accountable, well, I've got to tell you, Kyle, I'm expecting you to hold me accountable to this. So being my brother's keeper, on whatever day of the week that you want to hit me up and say, hey, I'm getting together here, got some time after work, want to meet for coffee, want to grab a early coffee morning, whatever it may be. That starts to work in this particular equation of what I call success, of doing those things that are sometimes out of the norm. May not be able to meet for lunch. We may have to do a 6 o'clock meeting at the local coffee spot, or we may have to do an 8 o'clock at a library just before it closes. It doesn't matter. When you are going to be accountable for someone else and responsible for them, you're going to do some things that may be outside of the norm in support of their venture, your quest, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, and I think I always like to break things down to the least common denominator, right? I don't like things that come with huge, that turn out to be perceived as huge monumental tasks, because I know that breeds procrastination.
Yes, it does. That's that elephant.
They're definitely the big elephant. So what I'm saying is, look around you. Don't feel like you have to go out and scan somebody, screen them, give them an interview, do all those things before you've found the person that can keep you accountable. The person is probably somebody who's already in your circle. If you're married, that person could be your wife. It could be a family member of yours. Anyone who you're currently the one criteria I would say that person needs to meet is they have to be accountable on some level themselves, right? Because you can't expect somebody who's, I have some friends that I would not, if I didn't want to get anything done, I would ask them to hold me accountable for it, because
exactly.
I know it would never come up. But in all seriousness, it's that same group that we've talked about before of people who are like-minded, who are also trying to accomplish something. Mm-hmm. Whether it's starting a new business or getting a promotion, just because somebody's on a career path hunt doesn't mean they aren't worthy of your time or your friendship, right? It's just something that people who are trying to do things have, right? You want somebody who's also hungry and trying to accomplish something just like you are, because that person is going to hold you accountable. And they're going to probably hold you accountable to the same level that they would hold themselves accountable. And that's exactly what you need. That's what you want. You don't want somebody who's going to give you a pass. You want somebody that's going to say, you said you were going to do this. I really don't think you're serious about it because I don't see the results. You're not doing it. You want them to make you feel like you didn't get it done. Because that's, quite frankly, that's part of whatever triggers our psyche. That's what we don't want to have. We don't want to have that conversation. Which is why having that accountability from someone else can help you, work a little more diligently at accomplishing your goal.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the fact that it doesn't have to necessarily be an individual who is on the same path of business ownership that you may be on. That individual who's in corporate America, climbing a corporate ladder, or let's even talk about the individual who may be transitioning, that's retired and went back to school. They have value that they can add to you. And also you don't know what you're going to be doing for them. You're asking them to help hold you accountable. And like you said, we got those individuals who, those will be the last people that we'd ask. But once you know who to ask, you may help someone else step up to another level and help them mature. And age isn't even a factor. It could be someone younger than you. It could be someone older than you. You have to look at all that and evaluate that And I wouldn't, throw a loose nail at it and say, okay, it's they can't do anything for me, because you just don't know what that'll start enabling them to start bringing forward.
Agreed. Well, believe it or not, Kevin, I think our time is about up here.
Okay.
So, unless you have anything else, I think we want to say goodbye for this week.
All right. You want to enjoy their week, definitely.
Yeah, and you enjoy yours as well. Talk to you next time.